the ACTA Centre and welcome to the Coast International Festival of Community Theatre.
I'm Neil Beddoe, Artistic Director of ACTA Community Theatre, and we're in the ACTA Centre in Bedminster, Bristol, on the eve of the Coast International Festival of Community Theatre.
We've got a really exciting week ahead of us. Lots of shows and workshops and discussions, time for us all to sit down and talk about this amazing thing that unites us all, this community theatre which we all make and love.
Community theatre is a global phenomenon. It doesn't just happen in the UK or in Europe, it's something that happens all over the world. And different people make community theatre for different reasons in different countries.
It enables you to engage audiences and participants who would normally never have access to art.
When we talk about community theatre in this context, what we're talking about is theatre that is made by participants from the general community working with theatre professionals. It provides a way in which people can have access to making their own theatre and a way of telling their own story, of using their own creativity and imagination.
It's really deeply wonderful to see you all here tonight, particularly all our friends and colleagues from Poland, Holland and Germany who've made this huge trek to get here.
Coast is a 2-year cooperation between ACTA and 3 other companies from Europe.
And COAST actually stands for Community Orientated Art and Social Transformation.
We wanted the opportunity to learn from each other, to share practice and methodology and philosophies, talk about why we do what we do, how we do what we do and who we do it with.
All the companies have come together because they've created shows that are about migrations and crossing borders. So that really is the theme that runs throughout the week. Each show will have an element of that.
It's a real important, pivotal, central part of the 2-year project. So that this is the point at which, having made the work, we look at it and see what each other's done. Crossing Borders is a show that's devised and performed by Somali women of 2 generations from Bristol, which is about intergenerational understanding between women who moved here from Somalia and their children who've been born and brought up in England.
It's so different to here. I mean, when you get on the bus, everyone's talking to each other about family, politics, gossip. It's such a great atmosphere.
I miss the conversation of people talking to each other. And I miss the people laughing out loud.
It was talking about, how ourselves, all this community who are here, and our children don't understand each other because of the language, and also because of the cultural issues.
No discussion. You are going to stay in Bristol with your mom, dad, brothers and sisters.
But what have I done to deserve this?
People, you are Somali.
So?
You have to stay with your parents until you get married.
I liked it because it's a very huge step to have so much Somali people on the floor, and that's one huge big thing.
I think it is really important to communicate, to discuss.
The lady in the show was talking about communication, about mother and daughter, and that's what you do with the audience also. Communicate about different cultures, having them on the floor. That's a wonderful show.
Fantastic to watch it and to see these women, older and younger, really enjoying themselves and feeling proud to tell their story. And to see the reactions in the auditorium was really a fantastic way to start the festival, I think.
It was a lovely and lively experience, and we learned a lot from each other.
Generally speaking, it's about having dreams in our everyday lives. So, we are all very much focused on the everyday work, very simple things like cleaning, ironing, office work, but we all have dreams. Sometimes we dream about leaving our place and going somewhere else. But then we travel, we experience things, and we always miss something, we are homesick. So this is what we're trying to show, that people have their dreams, they want to go somewhere, but they always miss their motherland.
That show was just so simple, beautiful. It really got the message across, I think, of the festival in a really accessible way.
This is the first time that I have been working with deaf people, and it's a really great experience. The beginnings were quite difficult, but we managed to create the show together, and I just found out that they are really great animators, that they use their body a lot in their everyday lives. So this was really great to observe how they animated figures, how fast they learn animation.
I found it really interesting how the puppets don't show any facial expressions, but still there was a very strong expression by the way they were moving the puppets.
I think it was really simple but really true for me.
It was really fascinating that they used no words at all, and still it was very clear what they were saying. You could understand it even though they didn't use any words, and especially the last part where they used sign language. I thought that was very strong.
Being here in Bristol at the festival is really an overwhelming experience for all of us, both for me and for the group. For most of them, this is the first time to leave the country and go so far. And they were so happy and so felt so appreciated when people were coming last night saying, "Oh, you were great, this was really beautiful performance." They couldn't believe, they were so proud of themselves.
We bring the show Zong. It's a story about a Chinese family.
Ik heb een mededeling voor jullie. Wij willen hiermee stoppen de zaak.
Wat?
En hoop dat jullie de zaak overgenomen worden door jullie. Hè?
Ja, luister, hebben jullie gehoord?
Nee.
Het restaurant is voor jullie. Nou.
Ja.
Maar papa, hoe zie je dat voor? Hallo?
We as company want to make a theater for people who don't regular go to theater. In Holland the situation is that about 10% of the people are going to theater. There's 90% don't go to theater, and we want to get them to our theater, and so we must make new shows who are telling the stories of the 90%, and then you need to cooperate with them to know what the stories are.
Misschien kunnen we het verkopen? Verkopen? Ja, verkopen.
I liked it because in the first place we are Chinese people are not that open, and in the past it's like Dutch people don't know exactly what Chinese people do except Chinese takeaways or Chinese food, and this is a great opportunity to show them how we really are, and we are open, we are friendly, we are social, and we make jokes all around, and that's the thing I like about. I can show myself to the non-Chinese people and communicate with them.
It's good to tell stories, but to tell it in a proper way. Can you go from the specific to the common? And so your story you're telling is a story who can everybody adapt to his own situation. It's not only the situation of the Chinese people, but the story is bigger. We're trying to tell bigger stories, which can bring the emotion to everyone who sees that story, who hear that story.
I'm the co-director of the show We Have Overcome, which is about people coming from the West Indies in the 1950s and the 1960s, coming for the first time to England. It's a really wonderful experience working with the community, with the Malcolm X elders. It's something that I've been doing for a while now. We've done about 5 shows together. Each show is usually about them, telling their stories and basically sharing it with the public.
Why I was touched is really why I love theater, is that they took me into their lives and showed me a little bit of their world, and they did it in a very warm, loving kind of way.
My word! So this is England. All them houses join up together. They look like the army barracks back.
I enjoy being in it. It helps to motivate me, you know, and I think it's important for the younger generation to know where we're coming from and where we're at and why we are where we are now.
The old English nation, won't you look at the qualification for me? The Israelites,
Oh, my friends, in Africa, fight for your rights. On your land in Africa.
The show was called Down with the Dictator. It's a play written by Lydia Besong, and Lydia is from Cameroon, and she came into the country and is still seeking asylum. The reason she left Cameroon was because she experienced some persecution as a result of her political stand. The play sort of documents that, and it's really about raising awareness about what people go through in the country.
People need to know that things are happening in other parts of the world. It's not fiction, it's the truth.
Who are you working for? Who are you working with? Who are your comrades? I started to shake because I didn't know what to tell them.
On a personal level,
I was determined to protect the people.
the reason that I've gotten involved in theatre is because I'd like to help in telling African stories from an African perspective and helping international audiences to understand what's really happening in Africa. And that's the reason that I got involved in this.
There you have it. He regained his seat on the 21st of October 2011. That is 7 more years of suffering. 7.
We have outgrown the city we grew up in.
The piece is called In Between Places, one of many, eine von vielen.
Let's go!
We started with one history from a man who was coming from Egypt 30 years ago. And the director had a lot of interviews with him, and then we wrote it down, and an author put it in a form.
And we invited people in an open call to take part in this production, and we invited those people who somehow feel attached to this theme. They brought in their own stories, their own experiences.
Usually we don't work with a specific community. We work about subjects or themes that we are interested in, and then we make open calls. We create more this community in practice. And so we have people from everywhere in our group.
My personal interest, or the interest of the Expedition Metropolis group, is to organize an intercultural space where very diverse people with different backgrounds have the possibility to explore a theme they are attached about, and to find a way to tell about the theme and to give the story to the audience.
I think I will long remember the piece by the company from Berlin, because it was such an ambitious piece of theatre, both in terms of the content, the stories of migration, but also the quality of the performances that the young people involved achieved, and the imagination of the theatrical language.
We cannot change really this difficulty of being in between, of the fact that you are moving from one place and leaving a certain thing, leaving a home, and you are searching for a new home.
It's not home, but
pieces of...
We cannot change this. There's always a problem about it. But what we can do is to find a way to talk about it publicly and to keep it alive. This festival, it made it possible, and this is a great thing about it.
There's workshops that are being delivered by the 4 participating companies. There's a whole range of different opportunities to actually take part in practical examples of how the work is created.
I really enjoyed the puppet workshop. They really taught me so much, and when I was kind of using the puppets, I couldn't believe how difficult it was. They were showing me with actions how to use it and how to do it. It just shows the importance of body language. It was amazing.
We looked at each other and we make a puppet together, and the puppet became a human being.
The purpose of the workshop was to bring across in a very condensed way to the other participants of the workshop what was a method in this specific production. What was a method of arranging an intercultural space, as we tell it, for a common exploration.
Come on, you're in safe hands, don't worry about the gravestones.
Purpanata is a refugee theatre group, and we started off about 4.5 years ago working with young refugees and asylum seekers in Croydon. Through being silly and having lots of fun, we make some really lovely, incredible, thought-provoking theatre that is just as interesting to somebody who speaks English as to somebody who doesn't speak English.
The workshop is about communication. How do you communicate with each other without the language, when the language is the problem?
Here also in this workshop that we try to find stories by making images.
A lot of Chinese people don't speak Dutch or English or whatever, only Chinese, and you can talk to them with body language, and that's the beautiful thing.
What's this story about?
Yeah. It's super.
I think the debates are really going to provoke lots of conversations, which will be really healthy for community arts.
Should we look at the artistic side of that more than the community side of that? How important is the social impact? There's lots and lots of very interesting questions that are right at the heart of community theatre.
How can we engage new communities? How can we make it more accessible? How can we create new and different shows? And these are the sorts of things that we'll get from all these different people coming together.
It's very good to have discussions and conversations like this, especially when it comes to that you disagree with each other. It means you should not only approve everything that you have to each other, but for the sake of discussion, but also for the sake of improvement. Value of community, it's extremely powerful ability to people.
If our artistic life as a society is only in the hands of Hollywood, media companies, professional theatres, then it is inevitably narrower because it doesn't include many of the experiences of people who are on the margins of society.
The reason I do community theatre is because it's a way that people can actually express themselves. It's really important in community theatre that people have that forum. It's part of history being passed down to other generations and to other people.
I'm new to this community theatre, so I'm getting deeper into the subject.
What interests me in community theatre is mostly that because of the art of theatre you can exchange worlds and you can get to know each other, which is the tool for me to create a better world and in the end to find out that people all over the world are the same.
But it also has a fundamental democratic importance, that if you live in a democracy and you are not part of its cultural life, you are excluded from an important part of how that democracy thinks, how it shapes its values, how it defines its identity.
Art brings together communities, and so you need the people that are kind of doing that to also be part of a bigger community as well. So yeah, and this does that. This is making a big community of artists and workshop leaders, which is really important.
For me, this has been like very enriching. And meeting people who work from different perspectives and also listen and witness all the debates and all the problematic issue in the practice. This was really informative.
A project like Coast is very important because of the cooperation with the different companies. You can learn a lot for each other.
I think it's really important to have festivals where people can share ideas and they can view other people's work, so that you can see that sometimes you have lots of things in common, and you might find that there's more in common than you actually would ever dream or think of.
I think this festival and also the Coast project is very important to meet people from other countries, to hear their stories, to meet them and to see where they moved about, how they tell their stories and how they bring those stories to the theatre.
For me, the most beautiful experience in this festival here in Bristol is that I could really experience the large range of methods and styles, because I think here in the festival we had really the chance to see very different, a lot of different styles. It was not all the same style.
For me, it's important that I can communicate. I can see someone in the eyes and ask him, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And what can we learn from each other?
When you see other people doing the same work, that your own vision is becoming sharper. You have more ideas and you get inspired, but you also see what you not want to do or why you are following another way.
You're always looking for new forms to use in your theatre programs and shows, and that's very nice in this sort of festivals. And you have time to look at yourself also. To what are you doing?
Coast for me stands for the exchange about learning from each other.
You get to learn from people of different cultural backgrounds and just to understand where they're coming from and what their views are on the same topic. And if you don't have that sort of setting, and if you don't have that sort of dialogue, you stay cocooned in your own little bubble and you make decisions based on your own one-dimensional view of doing things. So we got feedback, and now we're going to go away and work on the play and, you know, try to incorporate the advice that was given to us.
Today, after the show, many people kept coming and saying nice things and kissing them and shaking hands. And usually things like that don't happen to them, so for them it's a really important experience. I think it will last for the whole life probably, because this is such a strong and really beautiful thing to be with people, to be appreciated again. So yeah, for all of us it's really wonderful.
It has just been the most amazing week we could ever have asked for. Everything has gone so smoothly. The groups have really enjoyed themselves. We've had great audience feedback. And I think everyone's just really valued the opportunity to share and learn from each other in a space where everyone is feels they can express themselves.
And when you meet someone else who's doing the same sort of work in their own country, you do have a very strong immediate bond with each other. So I think that sort of sense of friendship, that sense of cooperation is something people take away. I think a sense of the expressing a whole range of sort of common human truths that we all share, which actually transcend the language barrier. The next stage for the Coast project is that each company is going to send secondments to another company in the Coast Partnership. So we're going to host one of the workers from Rotterdam who's going to come and stay with us for a week, and we're sending people to Berlin, and Berlin is sending someone to Holland, and it's a whole sort of round robin of people moving from company to company to have a real direct experience of how those organisations work, and to see that firsthand the differences, not just of the end product but of the process.